Discover the touching moment a single mom saved herself and found a life-changing love with a CEO. The bell above the diner door chimed cheerfully, a prelude to an unexpected day. Sarah poured coffee and served pancakes, her movements practiced, yet her heart felt heavy with an unshakable weight. It was a crisp Saturday morning, and the air was electric with excitement today. The diner was buzzing with a charity event for local veterans. The aroma of brewing coffee drifted through the room, saturating her weary soul with warmth. But beneath the jovial chatter and laughter lingered her burdens. 2 young children depended on her, and each paycheck barely edged her closer to solving the puzzle of bills that multiplied like weeds in her neglected garden. Just 2 years since her husband, a decorated veteran, had passed away, leaving her to pick up the pieces. Then he walked in. David, a former resident turned corporate CEO, stood out among the crowd. He moved with an effortless grace, his tailored suit a stark contrast to the denim aprons worn by the diner staff. Sarah's heart skipped for an instant, and awkward tension simmered between them when their eyes met. A kaleidoscope of emotions swirled within her, insecurity, longing, and hope. "Great to see you back, David," she said, forcing a smile. "And you must be." He faltered, struggling over her name as if it were a foreign language. "Just a waitress holding down the fort," she replied, modesty dripping from her voice. Though she felt outclassed, as if she were a piece in a game he had long since mastered, she watched the sincere light in his eyes ignite. Their conversation danced delicately around unspoken truths, David's youthful idealism clashing with her hard-earned realism. He shared tales of his rise, his passion for giving back tugging at her heartstrings. Sarah felt a flutter of inspiration, a crack of sunlight through the weighty clouds of her life. But just as things seemed to hum with potential, she returned home to find an ominous letter waiting for her, a notice of a financial debt that threatened to steal the roof over her children's heads. Fear clawed at her insides. She tightened her fingers around the edges of the letter. Ice enveloped her heart. The thrill of her budding connection with David suddenly felt dangerous, a risk she was unprepared to take. Desperation wrapped around her like a steel band, squeezing her resolve. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Sarah held her breath, teetering on the precipice of despair. But just then, David revealed a glimpse of his true self. No longer the polished businessman, he spoke passionately about the struggles he faced along the way, the heartbreak of loss that bound them. In that moment, Sarah felt lighter, as if a weight was lifting. Would she extend her hand into the unknown, or would fear pull her back into the shadows? Only time would tell if David could help brighten the path ahead, or if the storm of her past would darken their future forever. A blend of hope and uncertainty filled the air, leaving her breathless as the journey began. The next day dawned gray, clouds hanging low, mirroring Sarah's mood as she climbed out of bed. She moved through the morning routine like a ghost, fixing breakfast for the kids with a distracted mind. The weight of the letter still loomed over her, dampening the spark of hope born from her conversation with David. As she poured cereal into bowls, her daughter, Lily, tugged at her apron, eyes wide and curious. "Mommy, are you okay?" "Of course, sweet pea," she replied, forcing a bright smile. But inside, her heart ached. How could she explain the burden of bills, the fear of being alone? The innocence in Lily's gaze reminded her of how fragile their world was. "Can we go to the park later?" Her son, Ethan, piped up, breaking Sarah's thoughts. His enthusiasm was pure, a ray of sunshine in a dim room. She wanted to say yes, to take them to the swings, to let the laughter shatter the heaviness in her chest. But the specter of the unpaid debts gripped her with iron fingers. "Let us see how the day goes," she said, skirting the promise. After the kids left for school, the diner awaited her. The hustle and bustle of mid-morning had settled into a comfortable rhythm. The clatter of plates, the sizzling of bacon, and the murmur of conversations enveloped her, creating a bubble of normalcy. Yet, with every passing minute, her thoughts drifted back to David. He had offered to help at the charity event, and she felt a strange excitement mixed with apprehension. What if he learned of her struggles? Would he still see her as the resilient woman who poured coffee or just a statistic to help? Suddenly, the bell rang, and in walked David, wearing that charming smile that had caught her attention before. He spotted her behind the counter and made his way over, and she felt something flutter in her stomach. "Hey, Sarah. Mind if I grab a coffee?" His voice was warm, filling the space between them. "Sure, coming right up." She turned to refill his cup, her heart racing. "What a busy morning," he remarked, glancing around the diner. "I love seeing the community come together like this." "It's always heartwarming," she replied, trying to keep her tone light, but the undercurrent of her worries seeped through. As they talked, he shared his vision for the charity event. "I think we can raise more money than anyone expects if we really engage the crowd," he said animatedly. His enthusiasm was contagious, and for a moment, Sarah forgot her gnawing worries. "Maybe we can have a raffle. Or even a bake sale," she suggested, feeling a glimmer of hope. "Now you're getting it. Let's make it fun and personal." His eyes sparkled, and in that moment, she felt seen beyond her waitress uniform. Yet, as they conversed, reality intruded. The letter loomed in her mind, reminding her that this connection was fragile. Could her heart really handle seeing him more? As the day wore on, the excitement of the event began to build. But when she returned home after work, exhaustion washed over her. She found the letter again, this time staring at her like a ghost. Panic surged, and tears pricked at the corners of her eyes. "Mommy!" Lily's voice called from the living room. "We made you a surprise." She wiped her cheeks and stepped into the room, where both kids unveiled a pile of hastily drawn pictures, their laughter chasing away her sadness. "Look! This one's you. And this one's me," Ethan said, beaming that eye. In that moment, her heart swelled. Through the struggles, there was love, endless, unwavering love. But what about David? How could she let him into this beautiful chaos? Decisions loomed on the horizon. Would she take a chance on a new love, or would her fears hold her back? Tomorrow's charity event promised an impending storm of emotions. Would it be a day that brought them closer, or would the truth threaten to unravel everything she had held together? As her children nestled close, she closed her eyes, hoping for clarity. The morning of the charity event emerged with a tentative warmth, sunlight breaking free from the chains of the lingering gray. Sarah blinked against its brightness as she brewed coffee, the aroma enveloping her like a comforting embrace. Today was the day everything could change. Lily and Ethan were up early, buzzing with excitement as they chose their outfits. "Mommy, I want to wear my sparkly shoes," Lily chirped, twirling around in her dress. "That's perfect, sweetheart," Sarah replied, her spirit lifting at their innocent joy. For once, thoughts of unpaid bills and the looming letter faded into the background. Today was not just a fundraiser, it was a chance to connect with David, to maybe let him in. As the kids prepared, Sarah raced against time, applying the same care to her own appearance that she had for them. She slipped into a simple navy dress, the kind that made her feel both put together and comfortable. A quick glance in the mirror caught her watery reflection, but she forced a smile. She couldn't let her fears overshadow the hope blossoming within her. "Can we go now?" Ethan tugged at her arm, his enthusiasm infectious. "Let's grab your sister and head out," she said, taking a deep breath to steady herself. The drive to the community center felt like an adventure, the morning sun illuminating a new beginning. Once there, the sights and sounds of the event unfolded like a vibrant painting. Colorful banners fluttered, laughter echoed, and the smell of homemade goodies wafted through the air. Volunteers buzzed about, setting up booths and decorating tables. Sarah's heart raced as she spotted David at a table, his enthusiasm mingling with the community's energy. "Sarah." He waved her over. "I'm glad you made it." Just interacting with him sent playful flutters through her stomach. "I wouldn't miss it for the world," she replied, trying to sound casual despite her racing heart. His eyes twinkled with excitement. "Quick! Help me set up this booth. I have a feeling it's going to draw a crowd." As they arranged the raffle prizes, their easy banter felt like a rhythm she wanted to dance to. He was not just a CEO behind a polished exterior but a man genuinely invested in his community. There was a kindness in his laughter that wrapped around her. And even as shadows of self-doubt threatened to creep in, she found herself laughing and smiling, letting the moment wash over her. Amidst the thrill of the event, Sarah felt the knot of anxiety tighten in her chest. She was distracted by the lovely chaos of the afternoon until reality intruded again, the memory of the letter waiting like a storm cloud above her head. It whispered doubts. What if he found out who she really was? Then came the announcement, calling everyone's attention to the stage. David's voice rang out, pure and full of passion. "Thank you all for being here today. Together, we can help those in need and make a difference in our community." She watched him speak, his words weaving a vision of hope that connected everyone present. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, the stirring in her heart undeniable. She realized in that moment that while vulnerability was terrifying, it was also the key to opening up her world. "Are you okay?" Ethan squeezed her hand, noticing her sudden stillness. "Yes, buddy. I'm just happy," she whispered, squeezing back. As the event unfolded, Sarah found herself caught between the joy of the moment and the storm brewing within her. Would she take the leap to embrace this chance for love, or would her fears hold her back? As the afternoon wore on and the sun began to dip below the horizon, she spotted David making his way through the crowd, his gaze locking onto hers with unwavering focus. He smiled, and in that fleeting moment, Sarah held her breath, wondering if this connection could lead to something more. Could she really open her heart? Or would the weight of her past crush this fragile hope? As she debated within herself, the laughter and cheers surrounded her, and a question lingered on the edge of her thoughts: would today be a step toward transformation, or the beginning of a retreat into her fears? The moment hung between them, a fragile thread spun of hope and hesitation. David approached, his smile illuminating the space around them, drawing Sarah from her swirling thoughts. She could see the sincerity in his expression, the warmth that radiated from his presence. "Hey, I was hoping to catch you," he said, his voice steeped in genuine interest. As he stepped closer, Sarah's heart raced. The kids, busy with balloons and laughter, seemed to fade into the background, leaving just her and David in a bubble filled with electric possibilities. She began, struggling to find her footing in her own quickly fluttering heart. "I really enjoyed listening to your speech." "Thanks. It's easy to be passionate when you see the impact we can make," he replied, enthusiasm brightening his eyes. "You've been really involved since the beginning. It means a lot to have someone like you here." His compliment caught her off guard, a flicker of pride flaring in her chest. She wanted to respond, to share her own desires and dreams for the community, but the shadows of her past loomed, heavy and discouraging. The letter was still there, a reminder of what she had been trying to escape. David," she stammered, her hand brushing her cheek nervously. "I wanted to ask." Before she could finish, Ethan bounded up, eyes sparkling, his entire being bursting with energy. "Mom! Can we get some ice cream? Please." David chuckled, his laughter a soft melody that pushed against Sarah's insecurities. "What do you say? Could there be ice cream in our future?" Well, she hesitated, her mouth twitching into a smile. "I suppose if the ice cream comes with a side of joy, how could I refuse?" "Yay!" Ethan squealed while Lily joined them, clutching her colorful balloon like a treasure. The four of them made their way toward the ice cream booth. As they walked, Sarah could feel David's shoulder brushing against hers, a small moment that sent heat racing through her. Each step drew them nearer not only to ice cream but also to some uncharted emotional territory, fragile and exciting. "What's your favorite flavor?" David asked, leaning down to Lily, who looked up at him in awe. "Chocolate. It's the best, right mommy?" she chirped, her cheeks already blushing from the excitement. Sarah smiled softly. She loved these moments of pure joy. As they approached the booth, the vendor smiled at the kids, scooping generous portions with colorful sprinkles. "Funny," David said, glancing at Sarah, "I always thought chocolate was the best until I tasted strawberry last summer." Throughout their ice cream indulgence, as laughter filled the air, Sarah felt the heaviness of her past begin to lighten, if only a tiny bit. She watched as David interacted so easily with her kids, blending into their world in such a natural way. It felt right. But then that familiar weight returned, a nagging doubt gnawing at her. What if she let him in? What if he knew everything? Would he see her as just another single mom struggling to keep it together? Or could he see her strength? As they finished their cones, David's gaze shifted, suddenly serious yet soft. "Can I ask something?" "Sure," Sarah replied cautiously, heart racing. "Would you consider getting together for coffee sometime? Just the two of us. I'd like to know you better." The world around her melted away as she processed his words. She felt a wave of warmth wash over her but mixed with a swell of panic. Coffee with David? Could she really allow herself that chance? Sarah opened her mouth to respond, not sure whether she was ready to leap or retreat. But before she could speak, a loud cheer erupted from the stage, drawing her attention. "Mommy, look!" Ethan pointed, tugging at her sleeve. For a moment, she was torn between the thrilling prospect of the unknown and the safety of what she knew. Would Sarah take the plunge into something beautiful, or would she shy away from what could transform her entire life? The air was thick with unspoken words, and as she searched for a response, she felt time thrum like a heartbeat around her, filled with promise and hesitation. Would she find the courage to embrace love? Or would she walk away, holding on to her fears? As the sun dipped lower, painting the horizon with colors of hope, Sarah stood at the edge of a life-altering decision. What would she choose? The tension in the air was palpable as Sarah's mind raced. Every scenario played out like a movie in her head. She could envision herself saying yes, delighting in the thrill of coffee with David, laughter, and an endless conversation that flowed as smoothly as the ice cream they had just devoured. But then, a darker thought crept in. What if this was a mistake? What if the aching memories of loss and shame shadowed any new beginnings? "Mommy." Ethan's voice cut through her thoughts like a lifeline. "Can we go see the magic show?" His innocent excitement was contagious, pulling Sarah from her spiraling uncertainties. "Sure, buddy," she replied, her heart softening. Seeing their joy ignited something inside her, a flicker of hope amidst the shadows that had lingered for far too long. "I'll catch up with you two at the show," David said, his eyes searching hers, lingering just a bit longer than necessary. "You think about that coffee?" With that, he jogged ahead to join the kids, leaving her lingering in a swirl of feelings she hadn't expected to confront today. She watched the way David interacted effortlessly with Ethan and Lily, diving into their world, his laughter mingling with theirs. It was magnetic. But what does it mean to let someone into your life again? The thought of failure felt oppressive, like a heavy blanket. "Mom, did you see that?" Lily squealed, her tiny legs running back to Sarah, pulling her from the depth of her thoughts. "The magician is making real bunnies appear." Sarah nodded, a smile breaking through her earlier doubts. "Let us go see." She squeezed her daughter's hand, feeling the warmth radiate through their grip. For that moment, all her worries melted away. As they made their way to the performance area, a part of her couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She turned slightly and met David's gaze from a distance. He was smiling a reassuring, supportive smile that made her heart skip. It felt like he was silently cheering her on, an encouragement to step outside her comfort zone. The magic show unfolded, and as the performer created wonder after wonder, Sarah marveled at her children's delight. Their laughter was infectious, harmonizing with the music and cheers from the crowd. She couldn't help but think of how every great trick in life comes with a touch of risk, of vulnerability. After the show, as they walked back toward the festival grounds, Sarah found herself thinking more about David. What would coffee with him be like? Could it be exactly what she needed? That fire of fear, igniting her thoughts, still flickered, but hope began to fan those flames to life. Maybe this step wasn't so precarious after all. You okay, Mommy? Ethan asked, looking up at her with wide eyes, the ice cream still smudged around his mouth. Yeah, sweetheart, I'm okay, she replied, her voice steadier now. Just thinking. About the bunny? Rose's innocent curiosity made Sarah laugh. Something like that, she smiled, realizing how much living in the moment strengthened her resolve. As they wandered through the bright stalls, Sarah overheard a woman nearby discussing her own journey of healing and love. Sometimes, you have to take that leap, the woman said, eyes gleaming with wisdom. You don't know how much joy is waiting on the other side. Joy, was that what David could bring her? The sun dipped lower, framing their family in golden light. Maybe a little leap wouldn't be so terrifying after all. With her heart racing with possibilities, she took a deep breath and looked at her children, feeling a surge of courage flow through her. And just like that, she made a decision. As they approached the exit, David caught up with them, his bright smile matching the expanse of the sunset. So, what do you say? Can we continue this delightful evening with some cotton candy? Yes. Lily cheered, clapping her little hands. Definitely, Sarah added, knowing this was more than just about cotton candy. It was the beginning of something new. And as they walked together, their laughter blending with the fading festival sounds, Sarah felt a simmering sense of resolve. But could she truly embrace what was blossoming? The time had come for her to act, and she knew the next step wouldn't just be about their evening but a deeper leap into the unknown. Would she finally say yes to David and chance the tender stirrings of her heart? The air was thick with the sweet smell of spun sugar as they navigated through the festival, Sarah holding Ethan's hand while Lily skipped ahead, her laughter ringing out like music. Each moment felt vibrant and alive, infused with a sense of possibility that Sarah hadn't dared to entertain in years. Cotton candy in hand, Ethan's eyes sparkled as he spun in circles, lost in his own happiness. Look, Mom. I can be a tornado. He shouted, giggling as he whirled around. The simple joy of their children's laughter was intoxicating. For a heartbeat, Sarah found herself forgetting all her worries, allowing the simple joys to wash over her. Careful, buddy. She called softly, laughing as he nearly lost his footing. David strolled alongside her, his presence comforting. You know, I think he'd make a perfect tornado, he joked, glancing down at Ethan with warmth. A casual remark, yet it sent butterflies fluttering in Sarah's stomach. But remember, there's always a calm after the storm. It's about balancing fun with safety. She met his gaze and felt something shift inside her. He was easygoing, light-hearted, and seemed genuinely fond of her children. It stirred a longing within her, a wish for connection, a chance to pull someone close after so much time spent in solitude. Remember that magic show? David continued, his voice soft, drawing her back to the present. That magician had a knack for making the impossible seem possible. Maybe we can find our little bit of magic too. A light blush crept over her cheeks. There was an undeniable chemistry simmering beneath their light banter, a warmth that urged her to explore what lay beneath the surface. But could she really take this leap? Could she risk her heart again? Hey, do you need a hand? David interrupted her thoughts as Ethan bounded off to chase after a balloon. Yeah, actually. Thank you, Sarah said, relieved for the distraction from her spiraling thoughts. The moment felt significant, she was beyond the isolation of the past. She was moving forward, one foot in front of the other, and it felt like a small victory. As they strolled through the festival, the children's laughter ever present, Sarah allowed herself to absorb the moments. She savored how David carried himself confident yet kind, funny yet sincere. The heaviness of her memories still loomed, but each shared smile and laughter created little cracks in the armor she'd built around her heart. They stopped near a booth where a painter was creating a masterpiece of vibrant colors. "This feels like a painting waiting to happen, doesn't it?" David turned to her, eyes sparkling. "All these colors, all this life, just waiting for someone to embrace it." "Yes," she agreed, folding her arms as she watched the artist add strokes of yellow and blue. "It's about letting the light in." Suddenly, the world around them seemed to fade. The festival, the noise, the game booths, all of it faded into the background as they shared this moment, an understanding that blossomed between them under the setting sun. "Sarah," David began, his tone shifting slightly, "I hope I'm not pushing, but I really would love to get coffee with you whenever you're ready." His eyes were steady and sincere, igniting a spark of courage within her chest. Her heart raced in response, reminding her of everything she feared. But there, entangled in the warmth of his gaze, was a promise of something more. Could she really say yes? Just then, Ethan returned, tugging at her dress, his cotton candy nearly gone. "Mom! Can we go on the Ferris wheel?" "Of course," she said, her heart still pounding. But was this the start of a new journey? A new choice? David stood nearby, watching her with anticipation. As they walked toward the ride, her heart was a whirlwind of excitement and trepidation. This moment felt like standing at the edge of something extraordinary. Would the choice she made today solidify a bond that could last? Or would it just be another fleeting moment in time? The potential for both joy and heartbreak loomed ahead. As the Ferris wheel turned, it felt like they were climbing toward an unknown sky, the potential of love and new beginnings swirling in a dance of colors and emotions. Would Sarah finally embrace this new possibility? The Ferris wheel creaked softly as it began its ascent, each turn taking Sarah higher into the air. The festival below transformed into a mosaic of laughter, lights, and vibrant colors. Sarah settled into the seat beside Ethan, who was bouncing with excitement. Lily squeezed in next to her brother, eyes wide with wonder. David took the seat across from them, his smile breaking the tension that had cocooned Sarah in uncertainty. The moment the ride took off, Sarah felt the weight of her doubts lift just a little. The wind whipped through her hair, and for the first time in ages, she felt like she was flying. "Look at the view!" Lily exclaimed, pointing to the sprawling scene below. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the festival. "It's beautiful," Ethan echoed, clinging to the bar in front of him. "Just like life," David said, gazing out at the colors spreading across the sky. "Sometimes, you need to rise above everything to see how beautiful it can truly be." His eyes met Sarah's, and she felt her heart skip. As the ride crested, the world spread out in front of them, an endless tapestry of possibility. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, savoring the breeze against her skin. Memories of late nights spent alone, worrying about bills, and the silent echo of an empty house flooded her thoughts. But right now, there was laughter, joy, and David's steady presence. "Are you okay?" A soft voice emerged from across the way. David's brow furrowed slightly, his concern palpable. "Yes, I've never felt this free before," she confessed, looking into his understanding eyes. With David, she wasn't just Sarah, the single mom battling the odds, she felt like someone who belonged to the world again. The Ferris wheel began its descent, pulling her back to reality. She watched as familiar faces of festival-goers waved and cheered, their carefree spirits infectious. But would she allow herself to be swept away? "Do you want to join us for ice cream afterward?" Ethan's hopeful voice broke her reverie, and she turned to see his eager face. "Sure, that sounds fun," she replied, her spirits lifting. "And maybe we could chat more," David added, a hint of nervousness coloring his tone. I'm really interested in getting to know you better. His willingness to engage felt like an offering, an unspoken promise that perhaps, just perhaps, they could create something beautiful together. As the wheel continued its descent, the options swirling in Sarah's mind felt simultaneously daunting and exhilarating. The laughter of her children surrounded her like a comforting blanket. She thought of the life lessons she wanted to teach them about love and connection, taking risks, embracing joy. "Mom!" Ethan shouted, snapping her out of her thoughts. "We're almost at the bottom. Can we go get ice cream now?" "Of course." She smiled brightly, her heart fluttering. "Let us go." As they stepped down from the ride, Sarah felt both exhilarated and terrified. The moment felt electric, the promise of something new hanging in the air. But in a world full of uncertainty, would she make the choice to lean into hope? "Hey, can I steal a moment with you?" David asked as they moved away from the ride. His voice was low, urgent, and laced with sincerity. Sure." Her heart raced as he led her away from the hustle and bustle, to a quieter corner of the festival. What was happening here? Was he really about to share what was on his mind? The world felt smaller, just the two of them, and Sarah's heart pounded with both anticipation and fear. "Sarah, I know it's soon, but I think we have something special here." Just then, a shrill scream echoed through the festival as a young girl lost her balloon, sending a wave of excitement and distraction through the crowd. "Oh!" David said, his gaze darting toward the noise. "Looks like we might need to rescue that balloon first." Sarah laughed at the chaos around them, her heart still racing, conflicted between the moment they were about to share and the interruptions of the festival. "Let us go save the balloon, then we can talk." Her words felt both like an invitation and a challenge, as they turned back toward the hubbub of the festival, laughter and cries for help filling the air. Would they manage to find that elusive moment together? As they ran toward the sound, a question lingered in the back of Sarah's mind: was this the new beginning she had dared to dream about, or another fleeting snapshot of life that might disappear like the balloon? The crowd had gathered around the little girl, who was now bubbling with tears. Her balloon, a bright red heart, bobbed higher and higher above them, dancing tauntingly against the azure sky. Sarah quickened her pace, instinctively wanting to soothe the child, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that she was also chasing something of her own. "Let us help her!" Ethan shouted, his small legs pumping with energy as he darted toward the outskirts of the crowd. Lily followed suit, and soon they were at the forefront, trying to gauge how far the balloon had floated. Sarah and David maneuvered through the throngs of festival-goers, and she caught a glimpse of determination in his eyes. The festival was alive, pulsing with music, and the air was slick with the colorful smells of cotton candy and popcorn. Everything felt vibrant, charged. "Do you think we can reach it?" David asked, already scanning the scene, his mind working quickly. "Maybe if we get to that hill," Sarah pointed, squinting toward a gentle slope in the distance. It looked like the perfect launch pad for a back-and-forth dash toward the drifting balloon. "Great idea." "Come on," David said, his arm brushing against hers as they both started running, laughter bubbling from somewhere deep inside her. As they reached the hill, Sarah paused for a moment, taking in the sight before her. Children laughed and played, the sun dappling through the branches overhead, and David stood beside her, wind tousling his hair. She realized in that instant that life could burst forth in unexpected ways if she just reached for it. "On the count of 3. David said, urging the kids to get ready. 1, 2, 3. They surged forward, a spirited team. Sarah felt the thrill race through her, a rush she hadn't allowed herself to experience in so long. She glanced at David, who was focused yet joyous, and felt something shift inside her. The balloon floated deeper into the sky, teasing them with its ascent, but they pressed on, laughter echoing in their wake. How many moments had she held tightly, afraid to leap? Today felt different, optimism surged through her like the pulse of the festival itself. "Almost there. Just a bit farther," David shouted, urging the kids on as they raced. Sarah's heart raced with them. The balloon finally got caught in a tree branch, swaying gently as the child's cries transitioned from despair to hope. "We got it!" Lily beamed, her spirit infectious. Sarah's heart melted as David expertly mapped out their next steps. He lifted Ethan to reach the balloon, while Sarah stood beside the little girl, whispers of encouragement spilling from her lips. "You're brave. Look. It's almost back." With a few more stretches, Ethan caught hold of the balloon and tugged it free, holding it aloft like a trophy. The little girl squealed with joy, her previous tears quickly replaced with bright laughter. "We did it!" she exclaimed, and Ethan grinned proudly. David turned to Sarah, his eyes sparkling. "That was amazing. You handled that so well." Sarah felt a rush of warmth at his words, like a hug wrapped around her heart. "We did it together." In that moment, everything felt clearer. This wasn't just a fleeting encounter, it was the start of something new and exciting. As they made their way back to the festival, balloons and laughter swirling around them like confetti, Sarah felt a spark. But could she really embrace this feeling? Could she let go of her fears and allow herself to delve deeper into this connection with David? "Hey, after we get ice cream, can we go on that spinning ride over there?" Ethan asked, his face flushed with excitement. "Of course," she replied, glancing back at David, who smiled at her like he knew what she was thinking. The air was charged with anticipation, and somewhere inside her, a small voice whispered, "Trust it." Would she be brave enough to follow that impulse? As they approached the ice cream stand, David turned to her. "I'm really glad we came today. It felt like we were meant to find that balloon and maybe something more." Sarah swallowed hard, her heart racing anew. Would this be the moment she took a leap of faith, or would she let doubt hold her back once again? As the sun dipped further into the horizon, casting long shadows across the ground, the possibility of what lay ahead tugged at her heartstrings. Could this day spark the courage she needed? "Let us get that ice cream," she said, her voice steady, but inside her, a whirlwind of emotions danced. And as they stood together, enveloped by the festival's glow, Sarah couldn't help but wonder what awaited them on this journey together. The ice cream stand was bustling, the sweet aroma of waffle cones mingling with the sound of laughter. Children clamored for toppings while parents juggled their orders. Ethan, eyes wide with delight, danced in place, practically bouncing on his toes. "What do you want, buddy?" Sarah asked, leaning down to ruffle his hair. He looked at her, grinning, and shouted, "Rainbow sprinkles." "Got it," she chuckled, turning to David. "Are you interested in something adventurous too?" "I'd say I'm always up for an adventure," David replied, his smile warm. Their eyes lingered on each other for a moment longer than necessary, and Sarah felt her stomach flutter. Why did it feel like they were the only two people in a crowded fair? As they approached the counter, Sarah couldn't help but notice the way David interacted with the vendor, cracking jokes and bringing forth a laughter that felt contagious. She found herself smiling, not just at his charm but at how naturally he eased into the moment. "2 cones with rainbow sprinkles, please. And an extra scoop of adventure for me," he said, trying to sound serious. Her laughter erupted, a release of the tension that had built inside her since their arrival at the festival. "Adventure sounds like the best flavor," she said, enjoying the lightness between them. Ethan, at that point, was practically bouncing off the walls. With cones in hand, they moved toward a shaded corner, the sun still warm on their backs. "This is the best day ever," he exclaimed, his face already smeared with chocolate. Sarah laughed and turned to David, whose expression seemed to hint at a deeper understanding of what those innocent moments meant. "You're a really good dad," she said, hesitant yet grateful for his presence. "Thanks," he replied, looking thoughtful. "I can't imagine doing this without the kids around. They remind me to enjoy the little things." That simple remark struck a chord in Sarah. She had been so busy trying to navigate her life, juggling work and responsibilities, that she'd lost sight of those little things, the joy, the serendipities that came with childhood wonder. Let South watch the parade. Ethan shouted, breaking through her reverie. He tugged at their hands, and Sarah nodded, feeling the enthusiasm swell inside her. As they made their way to the parade route, colors erupted around them, vibrant floats, musicians playing lively tunes, and the whole street swaying with rhythm. Sarah watched David interact with Ethan and Lily, his innate ability to connect with them sparking joy in her heart. It felt amazing to see them so happy, and she found herself thinking that maybe this could be more than just a day out. A parade float rolled past, showering the crowd with confetti. Ethan jumped up and down, catching the floating paper, but Sarah's eyes remained on David. The way he leaned slightly towards the kids, the way he engaged them, sparked something she had long buried. Could she let this man in? Want to dance? He asked suddenly, his tone light, surprising her. It's better than sitting still. Dance? Now. Her heart raced with a mix of excitement and apprehension. But the spontaneity felt as electric as the music surrounding them. Why not? David replied, that infectious grin returning. Life's too short not to dance in the middle of a parade. With a leap of faith that surprised her, she took his hand. The three of them spun and twirled together, laughter mingling with the music. In that dazzling moment, surrounded by swirling colors and the spirit of the festival, Sarah felt a prohibition crack. Perhaps it was this very type of courage that could lead to something special, but as the music drew to a close, a small voice echoed in her mind, warning her to be cautious, to tread lightly. Could she truly embrace this unpredictable path? Just then, Ethan exclaimed with glee, "Look! A puppy!" His small finger pointed towards a woman holding a fluffy golden retriever on a leash. Should we go pet it? David asked, excitement in his voice. Of course. Sarah replied, her heart racing for a different reason now. That sweet breath of innocence lingered in the air. Would that puppy, a simple creature, become the next leap they would take together? With every step toward the puppy, Sarah's mind buzzed with possibilities. What if this day was just the beginning of something far deeper? Would she find the strength to face her feelings head-on? And as they approached the playful pup, she felt her heart pull at something anew. What else was out there waiting for her to discover? As they approached the playful puppy, Sarah could feel the curiosity bubbling inside her, a warm assurance that something beautiful was unfolding. The puppy wiggled in delight as Ethan knelt down, eager to pat its soft fur. Sarah laughed, her heart swelling at the sight of her children's joy spilling out like sunshine. David lowered beside them, his laughter harmonizing with theirs as he shared stories of his own childhood pets. For the first time in what felt like ages, Sarah let herself bask in the lightness of this moment. Normally, she'd be anxiously calculating the costs of every outing, but today, surrounded by laughter and love, she felt a shift within her. As they played with the puppy, Sarah realized how much she had been holding back, not just from David but from herself. Life had become a treadmill of stress and survival since her loss, but now, with David and her children, she felt a glimmer of hope that wouldn't be snuffed out by fear. Suddenly, a thought struck her like a bolt of lightning: this connection with David wasn't about escaping her reality. It was an invitation to embrace a fuller life. Can we all go to my place for dinner? She blurted out, her pulse racing at the unexpected audacity of her suggestion. I could whip up something simple, and you can meet Bernie, she chuckled, referring to the quirky tortoise her late husband had gifted against her wishes. David's eyes lit up, reflecting her excitement. I'd love that. I'm sure your cooking is as amazing as everything else about you. Panic fluttered in her chest. Could she really welcome him into her life, into her home filled with remnants of joy and pain? The decision struck her, heavy and freeing at once, a catalyst for transformation she never knew she craved. Great! Let's grab some cotton candy first, she chirped, a smile breaking through her nerves. The four of them headed towards the stand, the cotton candy's sugary sweetness enticing them forward while laughter floated like music on the summer breeze. As David bought a large pink cloud for each of them, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at how effortlessly he connected with her kids, entertaining them, making silly faces as sticky fingers squealed with delight. With cotton candy in hand, they strolled back toward the festival, the remaining daylight spilling golden warmth across their path. Sarah felt a sense of belonging she thought was lost forever, an idea that wrapped around her heart. Holding it tightly, the magic show from earlier danced back into her mind, a reminder of how each person brought a bit of wonder into the world. Wasn't this a kind of magic too? Opening up her heart again. "Let us clean up before dinner, all right?" she said, glancing at her playful children. Ethan and Lily nodded, each biting into their cotton candy as they waddled happily ahead, lost in their sugary bliss. As they arrived at her home, she felt the weight of every memory watching her, but this time, they were different. They felt like guardians of her past, rather than weights pulling her down. "Wow, cozy place," David remarked, taking in her lived-in, yet warm and welcoming home. "Thanks," Sarah replied, her cheeks warming as she led them inside. She prepared dinner while the children showed David their drawings from school. In moments, light banter filled the room, softening the remnants of insecurity clawing at her heart. "Sarah, you're an amazing mom," David said, his voice steady and sincere as they shared a quiet moment in the kitchen. "You handle so much with grace." Her heart swelled again, the fear she'd been carrying slipping away with the gentle cadence of their conversation. She hadn't realized how much she needed to hear those words, how starved she'd been for validation in her new role. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of vulnerability. Dinner passed in a whirl of laughter, stories shared, and a warmth that felt like home. Both Ethan and Lily adored David, pulling him into their playful world as if he had always belonged there. More than once, Sarah caught him watching her with a softness that whispered promises of acceptance, understanding, and something far deeper. As twilight filtered through the window, Sarah felt the weight of the day lift. Surrounded by joy and laughter, she realized she had a choice: she could step into the unknown or remain buried beneath the safety of her worries. Looking at David, his gaze warm and inviting, she took a deep breath, vulnerability stirring within. "I've been afraid to take a chance," she confessed quietly, her heart alive with honesty. "But today made me remember that life's about the moments we seize." David's expression softened, and he took her hand gently. "You don't have to carry that fear alone, Sarah. I'm here with you, every step of the way." Their hands clasped together, a connection forged by mutual understanding and shared laughter instead of cautious avoidance. Sarah felt hope unfurl within her, wrapping around her heart like a protective embrace. "I want to see where this leads," Sarah murmured, her voice steady. David squeezed her hand, a promise shimmering in the air between them. And with that simple admission, Sarah's heart ran free past the shackles of the past and into the arms of a future filled with love, laughter, and the glorious unknown. As the stars emerged outside, they entered into a world of possibilities, lit not just by streetlights but by a new flame that had ignited in her soul. She had crossed the threshold into something transforming, and as they all sat together, the sweetness of cotton candy lingered in the air, and so did the promise of what love could become. Now, it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you can be part of all our exclusive stories. Don't let a moment pass you by. Leave a like now to help the algorithm work its magic. Comment below with your thoughts and reactions to this ending that touched our hearts. And please, share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support, so don't wait not even one more second. Thank you.